Hello, beautiful souls out there. I hope you're able to get out in nature like Starlight has been. I'll tell you that wet weather, I only can stay out there so long because now my sneakers are damp. So anyway, and I hope you're getting out in nature somewhere like Starlight was. I was out there for a long time. And so anyway, I hope that you're taking good care of yourself and, making sure you do things in the right order. God first, remember, God first, then who? You. Then your loved ones, then everyone else after that. So anyway, welcome to my YouTube channel. And if you are new to my YouTube channel, welcome. And you can find me on YouTube, and that is at Starlight, and that is Kathy with a K Dingman. Plus, you can give my videos a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Plus, don't be afraid, don't be shy. Swing by and say hi to Starlight by leaving Starlight a comment down below. Beep, beep, beep. And you could share these videos with your family, your friends. How about some ducks? Because they like the rain. And some geese. Yeah. And also, if you want to, you can also send Starlight some love on Cash App. And if you don't know what that is, it's an app where you can actually, it's safe to use to send money to somebody that you can't give them cash. So that way, if you want to send love to Starlight that way, you can by downloading the app. And that way, you could send Starlight some love that way. Or the other way is by watching my videos, subscribing to my YouTube channel, or leaving me a comment down below, or even sharing. And thank you to all of you who already are doing that. You're watching my videos, you're giving me thumbs up, some of you are leaving me messages, thank you. And some of you are sharing my videos, so I appreciate you. And that's one way that you can love and support Starlight. So anyway, and the way that you can send Starlight some love is on the Cash App, and bing, there's the information for that on my screen. And so that is the information that you would need to be able to send love out to Starlight. So anyway, today I've been wanting to make this video for like a week now. And so this video is about, do you think that we're living in some kind of stimulation, like a video game, like you're stuck in this movie or something like that? So that's what this is about today. And there's people out there that's what they're talking about. And I've met lots of people on this journey. They know about it. Some people are scratching their heads. They don't know what to think. And to tell you the truth on this is, I heard that this was all an illusion, like all this here, but Mother Earth is alive and well, and the animals and us, but everything else, where did it come from? So God, it is kind of something, you think about it, everything that God created is what's real. All the other stuff, where did it come from? So God's creation, planet Earth, and the animals and humans, and who knows what else, right? So yeah, so those are really real, is what God created. So I heard this a long time ago. Wow, I don't even know how long ago when I heard this at first. I was really young. My brother that is no longer here, he was telling me that, he had the knowledge of it. And even though he didn't really understand, and then God ended up taking him out of here anyway, where that's all I could think about after he told me it, I was like, this is all an illusion? So, when you hear it, it sounds crazy, but it takes time to get that, to understand that. And for myself, I have to speak for myself, saying I've gone through some shit, to understand it now, and I actually have a strange picture that I took with my camera one time, and when I did take it, I'm like, man, this is so weird. The angle and the light, it is something how it doesn't even look real. It looks like it came out of a video game, but I took it. It was at a lake, at a park lake, in an area where my vehicle broke down, because what happened to the car at this time? The starter went on it. So, I had a hard time. Yeah, guess what? Starting my vehicle. So I was stuck at this park for a month, which was a beautiful place to get stuck because, wow, look at this. God just dropped me right off at this lake. But I met a lot of beautiful people there. And I actually have somebody on my YouTube channel from that park, that is out here somewhere. Where is he? Out here somewhere, supporting my channel. So it is interesting how, as I've been going through this journey here, on this journey here where God has me, is I've witnessed a lot of crazy ass shit in my life. Now, some of you are not going to believe this. Some of you are going to get this. Some of you, if you didn't experience this yourself, yeah, you're going to have a hard time understanding. It's those people out there that have experienced things, they're going to totally get it. Like Starlight dealt with aliens before in a hospital. Well, where do you think the aliens would work? Wouldn't a hospital be a great place for aliens to work? How about the politics? How about where the government is? How about doctors, where they could, imagine that you have, say you got, the good guys, bad guys, kind of, and that's how this whole world is anyway. You got, people of light, people of dark. You got good officers, bad officers, good doctors, bad, white, all the different kind of races, even though that's an illusion too. So yeah, we are like in a stimulation, whether you believe this or not. And there's information all around you. And I know sometimes I blow people away because it's just too much information. And that's a good way of, if I really don't want to be bothered by anybody, is go really dive in deep, and then they disappear. Where did they go? They were going to buy me a cup of coffee at one point, and Starlight dived a little too deep for him, and then before you know it, I didn't really need that cup of coffee because I already had one myself, but bam, they're gone. It's like, because I dove a little bit, I dived a little bit too deep for them. It was too much for them to comprehend, and they're like, well, I don't know where I just went, where I came from, but yeah, so there are a lot of people like that understand, even watching the documentary, The Matrix, that was that's my all-time favorite movie. When my brother that was here, is no longer here, told me about that Matrix movie documentary, and I didn't get all of that. I watched that all over and over and over again, and I would love to watch it over and over again, because there's so much to it. So yeah, it is hard to comprehend that, all of this. I used to make artwork, and how many of you, create something out of wood, maybe, women, maybe you created this purse, or some kind of, I don't know what you create, you've create something, and where did that creation come from? Your imagination, right? It was just a thought. It was just a thought, and then boom, so it is hard to understand what you see, because there are two eyes here to see us, and there's a lot of different people that have different jobs out in the world, like people that I've actually talked to, electrician guy, and stuff that he learned to be electrician, he understands. There's about atoms and all this stuff that, there's people that I've talked to. There's different people that I have talked to when I brought this topic up because of their background and, where they came from and the things that they know. Yeah, you know what? That it does make sense, because this is the information I have, the wisdom I have, or the knowledge that I have, and yeah, what you're saying absolutely makes sense. But it's really hard to explain that to other people, is saying, yeah, you can hear that table, right? Here, let me just bring this down a little bit. I don't know if you're going to still, no, you can't, but you can hear that table, right? But, you know, you can hear it, you can see it, but it's not even there. How do you think, imagine this, like, I've been in contact with aliens my whole life, and I don't know where they've been lately. You know, I haven't seen them since 2024. You know, that was a trip. So, how do you think they can walk through walls? Because the wall is not really there. You wonder how could they walk? And Starlight, believe me, Starlight attempted that at one point, because I was going through a spiritual awakening, and even like the funny movie Men Who Stare at Ghosts. I mean, I never laughed so hard in my life. That movie got me laughing so hard. Yeah, so believe it or not, we are like in a movie, and they do have, I don't know where this statement comes from. It is written, and as I'm going on this journey, I realize that, you know, it's almost like you want to, you know, if you already knew how your life was gonna end, imagine going from the ending to the beginning, because all this has already been, we're just playing out, we're in the middle of a movie somehow or another, and we're all actresses and actresses, and it's already got it laid out. We're just kind of, you know, just like the way the Hollywood people make a movie, is that there's no accidents when they have something like the shirt that they, you know, picked out for the actors. You know, I actually was watching the Jim Carrey, the number 23 movie. My son told me about it, because my son doesn't understand, but he knows that his mom's into numbers, you know, so he's like, well, maybe you'll like this movie, and I never watched it before, you know. So I watched the number 23 movie, and it is kind of funny, because, you know, the symbols and things that they have in a movie, they handpick that stuff out purposely. So really, this whole thing that, you know, the symbols and numbers and all that stuff has been like, this is all was created, designed, and all that stuff somehow or another. I can't explain all this, but there's, you know, if you really pay attention, you're going to go out in public, and depending on who you are, you're gonna see a different message than other people are. There's signs all over, numbers and stuff like that. You know, like, it is amazing that you just like the Hollywood stars, they purposely had everything to be a certain way, you know. And there's times that I'll go somewhere, and weird, there'll be a sign or a billboard or something somewhere, and I'm like, I needed that message. It could be inspirational stuff, or, you know, even seeing repeated numbers, you know, wherever I go, you know, and checking those numbers out. I'm like, wow, I needed that right now. That's what I didn't see that, you know, and it's like being in a dream. So like, I had a dream last night. I pretty much dream every night, but a lot of times it's kind of scrambled, you know, when I wake up, getting out of bed. So I'm sorry about this background. So everything, you know, in your daily life, if you look at it as a dream life, you know, which, if you look at your daytime like a dream, and you studied it, say if you, I don't know, what are you going through right now? You know, and I was trying to teach somebody this. Sometimes I talk to people, and I know it just went in one ear and out the other. They really don't want to take the time to do that extra work, and because they got other stuff they want to do, maybe watch movies or do something else, you know. And but if you're going through a hard time right now, you can actually look at it, write it all down, what you're going through, and use it like a dream study, you know. And instead of looking at it like, you know, because that's pretty much, you'll get so much help, you know, of what you're going through right now if you analyze, you know, by writing all this, you know, the details, you know, symbols and numbers, you know, just like a dream, is that you would write it down. And okay, for example, I'm trying to think of something. Like in a dream, you can act like, just like in your regular day, that you went to McDonald's. Like, this is what I do. So you went to McDonald's. What did you do at McDonald's? Well, I had a cup of coffee. Did you order anything besides a cup of coffee? No, Starlight. Starlight didn't order anything else. So just something simple like that. What does it mean, when you're in a McDonald's in a dreaming? What does it mean when you're buying a cup of coffee? So you can get so much help in your everyday life figuring out different things that you're going through by understanding the symbolic about it. And that's why the Hollywood stars, they use this all the time. Only the people that get it are going to get it. The people that understand. There's people that rip those dreams those movies right apart, and they will invent their own video for you to watch, just like they did with the Matrix, and they'll tear it all apart. When I say tear it all apart, that means that they study it, all the details that they saw in there, like if there's an animal in there, like the Matrix, they have a black cat that goes in there, and how many times have I been seeing a black cat lately? Wow. So it is so important to really pay attention to what's going on in your daytime and really listen. A lot of times we get so distracted because that's how the Matrix is, that's how the system is to distract you, so you don't really see what's right in your face. Listen. It's amazing. Like, I sit in the McDonald's every morning because I live in my car and I need to get up early in the morning. So I set my alarm clock for 5 o'clock in the morning, and by the time I actually get up, it could be about 6 o'clock because they open up at 5. I don't want to be the first one to get in there at 5, but I want to at least get that alarm, going, so then I'm like, that means I got to get up, that means I got to get dressed. I need to get my day going because I don't want to be in my car, and having people see my car, where I park it. Where do you park your car, Starlight? I'm not telling you. So anyway, for those of you that get that one, only there's one person that definitely will laugh her ass off on that part. So so like in the morning, I go to McDonald's, and it is funny. There could be people in a McDonald's at the same place, and it's funny, the songs, what kind of songs are playing. And it is kind of weird. Have you ever thought something and then the song played and it described everything that you were thinking? Well, I've had some funky times going to McDonald's because Starlight is attracting a lot of men and women in her life right now. I'm like, wow, there's a lot of people that are attracted to me because they see what I'm doing. They see my light, they see my aura, so they're drawn to Starlight like all over everywhere I go. And so it is funny, like I was in the McDonald's and the songs, I'm listening to the songs, and the words, and this person over here could be thinking about something, and then the song plays. And then this person over there could be thinking something, whatever. And it could be a song that they're, in their head space. And this happened. It was so funny. I was in the McDonald's, and not that I was even, consciously aware of it. It's like something subconsciously that is, really in me. And then the song popped out, and I'm like, wow, because I consciously wasn't thinking that, but subconsciously it is like bringing it up. So I, then I thought about it. I'm like, yeah, I do kind of, that is so weird that song played. And that's happened many times, in my life, is having a song, or, you got to pay attention. There's, listen to, really, if you could get one of these, you'd be amazed at the extra stuff. I don't have one. I always wanted to order one. It's kind of like being a spy. Do you want to be a spy? Starlight always wanted to be a detective. I always thought I was really good at detective investigator and all that, and relationships, or with my kids or people. And so they do have these devices that you can put on your ears. And, like, say if you had bad hearing, you use these on your ears, like, I don't know, they would just go on your ears or whatever. Nobody would even know it. And what it does, it really brings out, they had this on a commercial on TV once upon a time. What is a TV? And they have it, they got to have these somewhere online. And what it was is like if you were in your house and you could pick up conversations, you know, at your neighbor's house, you know, outside, you know, but you didn't have to be really close. So it really brings in a lot of that sound even better, you know, where you'd be able to hear clearer. You'd be like, wow, I can't believe I'm picking up all this stuff. So it would really be cool, you know, like I would love to have one of those things, because really you got to listen, because the universe, God, you know, nothing happens by accident. Everything, there's no coincidence here. Nothing happens by accidents. There's no coincidence. So you really got to listen to everything, you know, and it sounds horrible to say this about eavesdropping on people's conversations, but you're in a restaurant and it's easy to pick up on people's conversations. But if you had the air set, you know, you would really hear the universe speaking in so many different ways. And even though you're not connected with the people around you, that God could send you messages by what you're hearing all around you, you know, even though they could be over that way or over that way, you know, there's information that you could really pick up and it's meant for you to hear it, you know, and you could even say something and somebody else eavesdrops on what you say and they're like, wow, that's what I needed to hear, you know. And so it is really interesting. So you really got to pay more attention to, you know, it's like taking a magnifying glass and really zooming things out in, you know, just like science, what they do with science, you know, when they see you know, and this is really how you're going to understand more about the matrix and that this is a stimulation, is when you really, you don't get distracted out there, because that was their whole goal out here, is to distract you on stupid nonsense so you won't be able to learn. And you want to learn this stuff, you know, before it's too late, you know, because in that way you're ahead of it all. You're not like in the dark like a mushroom, you know, where people feed you a lot of bullshit. So you got to really pay attention and, you know, look for the signs. They're all over. Read everything that you see. Read as much as you can see. No matter where you go, there's information, you know, in this matrix, in this stimulation that you can get, you know, just like a video game, you know, they're going to have stuff, you know, in there, you know, for you to read, and it will give you, you know, some pointers. And like I said before in other videos about repeated numbers or numbers that stand out, you know, those are, you know, ways that we can, that's how this works, is you can get information. So it's a different whole ball game here in this stimulation as far as rules go, because you're at another level, you know, of reality when you wake up to really understand that, you know, even in the library, I get information in the library, just like a title will pop out, or they'll have artwork and some kind of inspiration somewhere, you know, and I'm like, oh, that's what I needed, you know, that's what I really needed right now, you know. And so anyway, I hope you get a lot of help from this. And so everything's been already written, you know, and you're going to, as time goes by, you're going to notice that as you're going through life, and you'll be like, huh, this is so weird. This was, you know, like, because God knows everywhere you're going to go. And then you go, you know, you do certain things and things are set up for you, you know, and you do this over there and everything's like all laid out for you. And it's amazing. It's mind-boggling of what it's like in this. And there's levels and levels and levels to understand the stimulation here. And they're even like in a video game, you're going to find yourself collecting. Like, it's funny, I met a guy, and I'm supposed to end this video, but I met a guy recently out here. He's been helping me out. And the funny thing is that he does things that I do, but he's not even aware of why he does what he does. I am aware of what I'm doing, you know, and I make a joke, you know, and I just put some seeds out, you know, and, you know, like, I don't want to do an overload on the man, you know, but just say, wow, you know, like when I find money on the ground, those are like in a video game. Ooh, I found some tokens here. I'm going to take these, you know, on this game of life here, because that's what we are. We're in this stimulation, a game of life. So there might be things that you collect in your life, you know, wherever you go, you might have a habit of doing things, and you're naturally just doing it, and you're not even actually aware of why you're doing what you're doing. So you might have certain things that I don't even know. The more we're aware of that we are in the stimulation, and if we all come together and say, hey, what is it that you picked up? What is it that you're learning? What is it? We can learn a lot from each other in this game of life, to find out more of, man, I could go on. I'm going to go on more and more on this. I am reading in the Bible, and it's about how God, that they were having a lot of wars, and the land that was there, and these people were on the land, but these people were not of people of God, and so if God was going to overtake those people, then when they went to war, that they won. And what I've been noticing is that as the stories are going on, and I love this stuff. I don't know why, I'm a female, but I love reading this stuff because now the people are stronger, and God doesn't, God's teaching the people that is with him, that he saved from Pharaoh, from being slaves, and he's building up their courage, and and getting them to believe in themselves, and just what I just so it's amazing how, just like in the game of life here, is that there's levels, and just like I'm kind of learning as I read my Bible, is that they started off at different fighting people on these different this property line or whatever. I'm not going to explain it the way the Bible, but I'm going to do the best that I can. But it's like, it is kind of funny that I think about today, is that they didn't start off with the worst people to take the land over. No, it started off gradually, and now it's like, now they're actually getting mightier men, and then the men, their courage has got to get built up, and now it's another group of these people, and they're like, oh my, these people, that they're the badass of the people, and it is amazing how this is pretty much how we are in the stimulation here, like a video game, is that there's layers. You got this one phase, of a game or whatever, game one, where you always got something at the end. You got to learn all these things, maybe collect things, like I'm saying, like in a video game, and there's challenges that you're going to have through this game, and at the end, then you got this big ass challenge, and then you go to phase, game two, level two. We'll just say level two. And then that one gets a little bit tougher, but this is the same thing that I'm noticing in the Bible, as far as in the beginning, when, God is actually, like if these people weren't serving God and they were going against the people of Israel, I don't know if I'm going to get these names right, is then God would say, hey, I'm going to take this, I'm going to help you fight this war, fight these people. It only would work if God said, yes, I'm going to do something. I am going to, because these people, God sees what they're doing, and God wanted to destroy these people because, they could overtake everyone, So it is amazing how each level on what I'm reading right now is that, there was the one where God actually, the kings went in to a cave, and God actually threw like stones from heaven down and killed them all, because they were great and powerful men, and that really, that like, bam, what do you think about that? God's helping these people to protect them, and they're going out, and possessing those lands, and if these people are against God, then God's like gonna build up the courage in these people that he's fighting for, and so it's really interesting how even in the times way back then, it got, these people that they were going to go against were mightier and then mightier, and it is something how, I never thought of that until reading, from the beginning of my Bible. Hang on. So yeah, so imagine that every time you defeat some big obstacle in your life, or some big situation that's going on in your life, and you're like, and it's this faith, you got to have faith, you have to have all these tools to be able to win this thing, and to, like, hey, and being obedient to God, not sinning, and doing the right thing, what God would want you to do, and not letting, not backing away, but facing this thing. And then bam, you're done with that. You completed it, and now you get rewarded. Somehow or another you're going to get rewarded because you got through that battle, and now you're going to start all over. In another game. Of life. And it's going to have a different challenge. It's never going to be the same. So it is interesting how the game of life, really is. So I really hope you really get a lot of help from this. And you really ought to check that out. Start reading your Bible and see what it says, and how these wars were going on in the beginning of time, and how God did, like, hailstones and all this, and killed all these people. And a couple of the few of the kings, they went and they hid in a cave, and then they put some rocks and blocked the cave, and then they ended up destroying those kings anyway, because they're the bad guys. Imagine all the bad guys just overtaking all the land. Where would the good guys live? So anyway, I love you so much, and you could give this video a thumbs up, and you could subscribe to my YouTube channel. Plus, you can leave me a message down below, beep, 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 and you can share this video with your family or friends. A dragon, and a horse, of course. Plus, you could check out my playlist and find me on Instagram at 1995 Starlight, or on Facebook, and that is Kathy with a K, Dingman Starlight. So I guess I'm gonna have a different title, is the game of life. The game of life, because that's what it is. It's a game of life. It is a game, but we all been deceived, and there's a lot of people that are aware of this, but they are not going to say anything. They're just going to play in the game of life themselves, and let you figure it out all on your own. So I love you so much. This is Starlight. Namaste. This is Starlight. Love, light, and peace.